Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matthew. Welcome back to Watty's channel. Today, we are going to continue on with the My Favorite XOX Customs exclusive figures by Random Treasures. So, we just completed round one just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Well, yesterday for me. Probably be a few more days before I post this video for the rest of you guys to watch. But so, as I mentioned, we started off 42 figures. As a matter of fact, 43 figures. I added Dino Bravo later on to the hat to participate in the competition. So, unlike previous tournaments where I normally have a one-on-one match and I choose one figure and the other two are basically sent home for the competition. The end of round one, the last three-man match, I decided to keep two figures. So that actually gives us 22 winners from round one. So it's going to make it a nice even number. Of course, once you get into round three, or start round three, you're going to have 11 winners. But I'm going to do the same thing. Last match, choose, the last three standing, I'll choose two to move forward. So we'll actually have 6 winners remaining at the end of round three. And, or is that going to be the end of round 4? Man, it gets confusing. But we're going to have, I think round 4 is going to be the last of the 6 men. And that's going to be considered my semifinals. And round 5 will be the finals with the 3-man matchup. Which is better. It's not like you're looking at a baseball game or anything where you have to have a one-on-one. I think it's better. It gives you more opportunity for success when there is a 3-man finals. So for me, that works out pretty well. So I'm going to recap, kind of go over the winners of round 1 before we start drawing the names for the characters who are going to participate in this video to start off round 2. Alright, so in round 1, Mr. Perfect defeated Hulk Hogan. Demolition Smash defeated Mike Sharp. Legion of Doom Hawk defeated Pink Shirt Referee. And Barry Windham defeated Bushwhacker Luke. That was in the first video. So round 1-1 or round 1 part 1, however you want to look at it. My title, I just call it -1. Jerry Lawler defeated Bushwhacker Butch in video 1-2 or round 1-2. Sika defeated Ron Bass. Razor Ramon defeated Ivan Putski, and Dusty Rhodes defeated Rip Thomas. In round 1-3, Arn Anderson defeated Ron Simmons. Afa defeated Lex Luger. Butch Reed defeated Steve Williams, and Ultimate Warrior defeated Virgil. In round 1-4, Barbarian defeated Ric Flair. Abdul the Butcher defeated Bad News Brown. Terry Taylor defeated King Haku. And Zeus defeated the $1 Million Man. And finally, in 1-5, we saw Demolition Axe defeat Bob Backlund. Brother Love defeated Rick Rude. Sid Vicious defeated Sting. Dino Bravo defeated Mil Mascaris. And in our first 5-man video, or 5-matchup video, both Tully Blanchard and Legion of Doom Animal progressed over Macho Man. So once again, 22 characters. I've got the names saved, put back in the hat. So we will draw another, 4 matchups in the video. Keep that pattern going strong. Once I pull the 4 names, or the 8 names, I'll pause the video per usual, write the names down, and go pull the figures before we begin. First one is going to be Butch Reed, as he does battle against Mr. Perfect. Next one is going to feature Afa, as he squares off against Smash. Razor Ramon is going to square off against Brother Love. And Tully Blanchard is going to square off against Arn Anderson. Alright, so I'm going to pause the video here, guys, and pull the figures, and I will be back momentarily. Alright, everybody, I am back with the figures pulled. So, I think out of these first 4 matchups, it looks like this very first matchup is actually going to be the most difficult to choose from. These are both figures that I kind of viewed as going 3-4 rounds easy. So to lose one again in the early going. But with a tournament this small, I think just making it out of round 1 kind of shows you the most coveted figures. Easily the most coveted figures. But again, there still were a bunch of great figures like the Bushwhackers, etc. that kind of didn't make it forward. So, but anyways, the first matchup is going to feature Butch Reed as he squares off against Mr. Perfect. So I kind of want to stay away from talking about the same stuff I talked about in the first round, and because I kind of went in depth with so many figures, made so many long videos, I kind of feel like I can't really do that. Because obviously I'm still going to want to talk about playability and all that, because that's going to help me decide which figure I enjoy more. We'll start with nostalgia. When I look at the Mr. Perfect figure, I really don't see Mr. Perfect all the time, because when I look at the body pose of the figure and the singlet, my first interpretation is Scott Steiner of the Galoob line. And as I mentioned, Scott Steiner was a figure that we had as kids, so of course he got a lot of play. As an adult, I really don't covet that pose. Is it adequate? In the sense that this one comes with a little towel accessory that Mr. Perfect and guys like Bob Backlund, etc. kind of came to the ring with. It makes sense because the way that he holds the towel, it looks nice as an added bonus with that added accessory. Because he's a rubber figure, yes, the Mr. Perfect figure does work a little bit better as far as pose. You could still use this as a very playable figure regardless. Little one-hand toss over, clotheslines. I guess you could do an adequate one. Not the best, but, again, imagination. But body slam, yeah, I could see that figure being able to, slam someone from right arm under, etc. I keep talking about Mr. Perfect, that this should be a top-of-the-line, I kind of say middle rotation or top of the rotation. I kind of keep talking in baseball terms, but yeah, we'll stick with that. I love baseball, so I kind of feel like Mr. Perfect should be a top of the rotation type of figure for XOX Customs. But that pose I can live with. If you put that pose aside, it's the color of the rubber that that does this figure in. When you compare it to any of the skin tones of any of the other original LJN figures, it just doesn't bleed in as well with the others. You can easily pick this one out immediately. And it's a shame, because like I said, head mold with the hair, this has got to be... I want to do a competition, or not really a competition, but a countdown of like some of my favorite hair molds. This is an incredible piece. That head is fantastic. It looks like Curt Hennig. It's got the perfect two-tone singlet that I enjoy. Obviously, the one from Eric Boyer, Wrestling Writer, the one with the orange and the black background. I mean, I like that one a little bit better, but actually, I like that one a lot better. It's resin, but it's got a better pose, kind of like a Series 1 Hogan to an extent. So, this is a beautiful figure. One of my absolute favorites. Curt Hennig, obviously, mega superstar in the AWA. And even in, 1990, I always say that 1990 was kind of like the end of Curt Hennig's career. He and Hulk Hogan were the last two men standing. And the way that Hogan threw him over the ropes, I mean, this man just didn't go over the ropes. He went over the ropes, the turnbuckles, the post, and he went flying over. Like, that was insane. And when he kind of had to go back and go into managering, he had to become a manager because he like Ted DiBiase. The injuries sustained were too advanced for him to safely continue wrestling. That obviously didn't keep him from wrestling, because you look at guys like Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, how many times have they sustained injuries that your average guy would not be able to recuperate from? And, within a few years or so, Shawn Michaels, several occasions, come back in and start wrestling again professionally and does an amazing job. Mr. Perfect teamed up with Macho Man to go against Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. They didn't win the championship or the tag team belts from him, but that was still an amazing pairing. Curt Hennig, he's just another one of those guys who died extremely young. I think it was like, what was he, like 40 years old or something? 42? I don't remember his exact age, but I don't remember him living a very long life. And it's a sad story because, like I said, Mr. Perfect, he was just an incredible athlete. Even as a bad guy, even as a kid, I always appreciated, his talent in the ring and whatnot. He was just so much fun. Complete opposite of Ric Flair. Like, I despised Ric Flair. I always thought Ric Flair was kind of like a showboater. Ted DiBiase was a showboater because he's always like, everyone's got a price and always flaunting his money around. But I never really got that impression from Mr. Perfect, and he was just a fun character all around. In this matchup, he does square off against Butch Reed. I think it was Survivor Series 87, if I'm not mistaken. And it was one of the first Survivor Series I could actually remember. Now, obviously, I was like 2 years old when that came out, so not watching it, obviously, when it aired, but, years later, probably on home video or something. And as a matter of fact, I think within the last year or so, I went back and watched some Survivor Series, and the matchup that featured like Bam Bam Bigelow and Hogan and Paul Orndorff going up against guys like Andre and Rick Rude and Butch Reed and whatnot. It's kind of funny because the Butch Reed that you get from Galoob compared to the Butch Reed that I saw in that matchup, Butch Reed was like very toned down, like he went full Michael Jackson or something. I don't know, maybe it was just video quality or something, but you look at him dark skin and you look at that, for all I know it could be two different characters. If it is two different characters that I'm thinking of, please correct me, but I'm going to make the assumption that it's the same guy. I never knew of this figure until a couple years ago when I started recollecting Galoobs. And this is one of those figures from Ram Treasures as a Galoob 2-up that I absolutely loved and appreciated and had absolutely no qualms whatsoever paying the money that Ram Treasures charges to acquire him, because, again, it is just an absolute perfect figure. They do have a Mr. T figure out, which is absolutely amazing. They just take this exact same figure to create Mr. T. Am I going to complain about that? You know what? You keep sticking with the fantastic poses. You can do that all day. I mean, I'll take 10 of these guys in these type of poses than, your Jesse Ventura, handout type of deal any day, right? Based on playability and pose, Butch Reed definitely has the upper hand. I have more history or more understanding of Curt Hennig, having watched him growing up. What do I always say when I talk about my favorite LJN tournament or my favorite tag team tournament, Hasbro tournament, etc.? Yeah, nostalgia is going to play a role. As much as you don't want that to be any part of the criteria, it's going to be foolish of you to kind of pretend that it doesn't. It's going to affect your decision one way or another. And I always say that this is a figure tournament after all. Nostalgia may play a role, but I'm choosing my favorite figure. Not my favorite wrestler, favorite performer, and favorite figure. And these are two elite pieces. Again, I think the Mr. Perfect is probably a top 15 figure among Ram Treasures exclusives. I gotta go with Butch Reed, though. Getting him, and I think, did I buy him and Ron Simmons together? I probably did. Yeah, I most likely did. And I didn't get the Ron Simmons, I don't think, right off the bat. I think when they came out with this figure, I think that's when I picked him up. And asked for that Series 2 exclusive look on Ron Simmons. This is, like I said, an absolutely gorgeous piece. This is probably one of 6 figures. Gun to the head, what 6 figures would you choose to be the last 6 standing if I had the choice? I think Ron Simmons would easily be, Butch Reed would easily be one of the last 6. You look at the Ron Simmons I had as a kid, horrible, horrible figure, one of the worst action figures ever created. And then you see Butch Reed, it's like, how do they... This is one scenario where when you look at the 2 figures, it's like, okay, tag team, this is one and probably the only time I'll ever look at it and be like, hey, why don't they have the exact same pose or mirroring each other? Because when it comes to Ron Simmons like this, and then you got this Butch Reed, one is an extremely playable figure and the other is trash. So, but yeah, guys, Butch Reed, I don't want to lose Mr. Perfect in just round 2. If it was like a round 3 elimination, it would have been a little bit easier to swallow. But man, Butch Reed, amazing figure. Next one up, and I do think that was the toughest decision of the lot of 4 in this video, but these guys all move forward for a reason. And when your next battle features Alpha going up against Smash, and make sure it was Alpha, not Sika. Yep. Because I could have written down Sika and then pulled Alpha, so I want to make sure I got the right drawing. So Alpha, as I talked about in the previous time I brought this up in round 1, not exactly, I didn't really grow up watching Wild Samoans. And I think, I think the Samoans are part of the Anoa'i family, if I'm not mistaken. I think Roman Reigns is somehow part of that family. The Rock is some part of that family. Snuka, I think, married in. Rodney Anoa'i, Yokozuna. Who was it that I saw in the Mattel Retros? The Samoa Joe, I think his name was. Again, the only way I know of Samoa Joe is through the Mattel Retros, but if you look at him, he's got Yokozuna's face. So you just know right off the bat that's part of the same family. I think the Anoa'i family are the ones who've produced the most professional wrestlers by a landslide. When you talk about major wrestling families, you talk about the Von Erichs and the Rhodes family, the Hart family, etc. No one has had more success or more kin than the Anoa'i family. And Alpha and the Wild Samoans, great figures from XOX Customs. And as I stated before, when I first got these guys in, I kind of put them at like the very bottom of my list. So 19 figures in, they'd come in at number 18 and 19, being the worst that Random Treasures had to offer. Now, how the heck I would put them below Bob Backlund makes no sense, but I just thought that Bob Backlund with the B. Brian Blair pose just was a little bit better. That's the only reason. Good, thick, bulky figures that I enjoy, and a very solid look overall. Are they the best of the best? Are they absolute elite figures? I don't think so. I kind of view the Samoans as a middle of the rotation, or, again, kind of sticking with baseball terms, I kind of think of them as like your number 4 pitcher. Your number 6 pitcher is basically, if someone gets injured or something, it's someone you'd call up from AAA or pull in from the bullpen to start a game. And that would be like your bottom tier, action figures. So, your 4th and 5th starter are, the type of starters that get skipped every 5th day or 6th day or whatnot, if there's days off, right? So I kind of look at these figures in the same sense that I look at a starting rotation in baseball. Your frontline starting pitcher is going to be like your Sid Vicious and like your Zeus characters and whatnot. And this guy is like a number 4 figure, or number 4 starter, essentially. Hopefully that little analogy makes sense. Positive figure, I don't have a lot of qualms with it, not really. And as you guys already know, Smash to me is, among the top 5 of the best Ram Treasure figures. Now, since we've gotten figures like Jerry Lawler in, and Dusty Rhodes, Terry Taylor, maybe, probably not, that might push this figure further down the list. Could be 6, 7, it could be 12, I don't know. I don't know how far I'd put it. Axe and Smash from Ram Treasures are excellent figures. Axe is just basically the exact same figure with custom face repaint. Smash is just his counterpart, his mirrored version, with the left arm out instead of the right arm. This pose is horrendous. And the only purpose I've ever said that this pose serves is this right here. Being able to comfortably hold a championship belt. when you look at guys like Jesse Ventura, that's it. I mean, these little side punches, like, what is that? I makes no sense. As a displayable figure, one of the most gorgeous pieces. Absolutely love the face paint. Demolition, if you guys remember Moondog Rex, who was one of the original members of Demolition, and even when he came to the ring with a shaved beard and paint on his face, people still thought that, they still called him Moondog Rex and whatnot, so he basically had to be replaced. And of course, you got your infamous Demolition tag team that everybody's familiar with Axe and Smash together. Axe, I think, got injured at some point and couldn't really be a sustainable force. That's why they brought in Crush and had that 3-man tag team. Absolutely love that together. And of course, when Axe left, it was down to Crush and Smash as fellow tag teams. I mean, Crush, that man has like so many different identities in wrestling. It's crazy. I'm sad that we haven't gotten a Crush. Trust me, I've talked to Ram Treasures about it. I've asked her last year if we were ever going to get the 3 faces of Crush. Technically, if you throw in like that little prison scheme version, gimmick that he had, you technically have like 4 versions of him. But she told me she was on it. Anytime I inquire about new figures, I'm on it, or it's in the works, or something like that. But it just never happens. Gorgeous piece. Love Demolition. I was very surprised to learn later on in life that this was Repo Man. I never in a million years would consider that, and it's why I kind of don't like when characters are re-gimmicked or rebranded, repackaged. To me, he will always be Smash. He'll always be Demolition. I won't ever think of this guy as Repo Man. I'll think of Repo Man as his own character because, I mean, that's no fun. It's like if you were not using your imagination and you're a kid and you're sitting down to a Royal Rumble or something, and let's say you want to have like Repo Man and IRS tag team and you wanted to go against Demolition. You can't have Repo Man and Smash in there at the same time if you're got the mindset that's the same guy. This one is actually a little bit more tough than I initially thought when I first drew the names. I'm going to choose Smash, but, Alpha, he did not make it easy. I just think with the overall look, to include face paint, and this right here, the vest that Demolition has, and the straps and everything, these are what makes the figures. Even more so than the face paint. The body, the fighting pose, yeah, Alpha, I would take that over this, but the overall look and quality of the figure is what I gravitate towards. With the Wild Samoans, their poses isn't the best. It's not the worst, but it's serviceable. They're nice, big, thick figures, which I love, and that's why it was a little bit more difficult to choose, especially since I think that the Smash figure might have a little bit worse rubber, but not by much. I mean, you look at this and kind of how wiggly it... No. It's very wiggly, and I'm like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do with this cheap rubber. That's why I really love the big rubber guys from the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast group. Their figures are just so amazing. But Smash defeats Alpha. The next matchup is going to feature Razor Ramon as he squares off against Brother Love. So, let's start with pose. Why not? This whole Texas Tornado Hasbro, or Tatanka Hasbro with the double arm extension, I don't like at all. When I have Tatanka Hasbro or the Texas Tornado Hasbro figures displayed, do you think I ever extend both arms? Of course not. They're always, extend, inward. Like, I kind of go like this. So their hands are, like this, fighting style. And of course, when you look at Brother Love, Jim Brunzell pose. I mean, essentially. So, obviously, I don't think any parent who are actually purchasing these figures for their children for play, if their children actually go back and watch old tapes with their parents or whatnot, and they know who these guys are, I don't know if they would actually use Brother Love other than a manager or commentator, personality, whatever you want to call them. But I've already said it. If I had these figures as kids, if I was a kid and I was wrestling these guys, excuse me, heck yeah, I'd be using Brother Love as a wrestler. Absolutely. I've talked about when I started doing my favorite LJN tournament. Because I never had LJNs as a kid, I really didn't have no knowledge about them. That includes the feel and play of the figure. And the feel of the figure that's to me, the feel of the figure, the pose of the figure, that's what you gravitate towards. I mentioned Junkyard Dog from LJN. Fantastic play pose, but you hold the figure, the grip, and the feel of the figure, it's just not enjoyable to use. So, yeah, I keep Junkyard Dog as like a top 20 LJN, but the feel just isn't there. I think the feel might be a little bit more just kind of holding on to these on the Brother Love figure. And, of course, Razor Ramon, just in the last video or last round when I talked about, his shortcomings, this had a potential to be such an elite figure, and the pose, yeah, that is bad, but you could live with that. You can do, your clothesline, throw your punches and stuff. You could pretend to do a body slam. I mean, come on. Like I said, with King Kong Bundy with his arms all down like this, right? You still pretend to do a body slam. It works. It's fine. It's the chest hair, man. Like, I don't know why such a simple aspect of the figure bothers me so much. Maybe it's OCD kicking in, I don't know. But it just ruins the overall figure. And when I think of Brother Love, I think of the back of the Series 6 LJN card. And you think of characters that were scheduled to be released, but then they never came out. This completed Series 6 LJN, and maybe that makes it a little bit more valuable. Maybe that's a reason why I might choose him over Razor Ramon. I think the overall quality of the look of the real life person, I think they did Brother Love they did him very well. Again, I talked about in the last video or last round with this figure how a lot of customs that you might see, their face is like really, really red. And they got a nice shade of red there to the face. And I don't know why his face was so extremely red in real life. I mean, that's like extra amount of makeup that they put on or something. It's crazy. Plus, you remember all these old Brother Love like segments where Hulk Hogan comes on, and every time Hulk Hogan comes on, it's like, okay, what's going to happen now? Is he going to get tombstoned by The Undertaker, or is he going to get sat on by Earthquake, etc.? It's like, stay away. All right. I am going to go with Brother Love. I just think that this is a much higher quality figure, and Razor Ramon has the deficiencies that kind of been bothering me, so I don't want to progress Razor Ramon further in this tournament. And I kind of mentioned briefly in the last tournament, or the last round, when I talked about Razor Ramon, that I felt like there were maybe like 5 figures in this entire XOX Customs release that Razor Ramon was better than. Bob Backlund, definitely, because Bob Backlund's garbage. Ron Bass, maybe. Ivan Putski, definitely. And I don't know, maybe Haku, King Haku. That maybe would have been like a number 4, I think. I don't think he would have beaten anyone else off the top of my head. So, Brother Love defeats Razor Ramon. The last battle is going to feature Tully Blanchard as he does battle against Arn Anderson. And we will start with Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard was a shock entrant in round 2. So in the very last video, round 1-5, or round 1 part 5, however you want to look at it, he was one of the last 3 figures standing, last 3 figures remaining. And normally when I do that one-on-one, I eliminate 2 figures. But because I was keeping 2, he got bumped to the next round. Because I liked Legion of Doom, Animal, and this one better than the Macho Man figure. And of course, with Macho Man just being another Ron Simmons remake, it made no sense to do that figure. I have always stated that I've never been a fan of the Tully Blanchard figure. And I think he was part of Arn Anderson. I think he was Arn Anderson's teammate in the WWF as the Brainbusters. I could have that mixed up. You know, I might have that mixed up because I think Tully Blanchard and who else was it? It was Tully Blanchard. Was it Ole Anderson? No. Again, guys, I used to know this information, and occasionally here and there I remember it, but Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, obviously, with the Four Horsemen, you know, they're always, you know, guys that are part of that group. Tully Blanchard was definitely one of the Four Horsemen and whatnot, and that's probably why I'm thinking that he was a brainbuster, but that may have been someone else. Anyways, not important. This figure is good for a couple reasons. One, he's got a Ric Flair Galoob body. That is all this is. It's a Ric Flair Galoob 2-up with the head cut off and a new head put on. And I like the color of his boots. You know, that looks amazing. That's exactly what this figure should have looked like. As far as chest hair, at least they make this one a little bit more thick. And what have I talked about before? Where they get some like grease or oil or you know, lead shaving, something to kind of like smear on the chest and call it chest hair. Do we like the bubbles or the little, I don't know, scars, whatever you want to call them, that are on the George Steele figure? No, they look like scars. They look like bubbles. They don't really look like hair, right? But at least that's something. At least you know that's intended to be hair. This, it just looks like somebody has dirt on his chest. So I will take that George Steele version of hair over this. I am not a fan. I think that's terrible. And I mentioned I only bought this because of the giveaway contest. I kind of argue that Tully Blanchard might be one of the worst Ram Treasure figures. So again, kind of seeing a figure that I really don't enjoy being in the second round is so odd. I wanted more figures for round 2, so I decided to keep 2 figures instead of just eliminating one. But you know, you had Animal moving forward to round 2, so you could have gotten rid of this one. You could have gotten rid of Macho Man and really not been hurting. Arn Anderson, obviously with the Galoob 2-up, same exact figure, same pose and everything. What kills me about this figure is me deciding to go off of the Arn Anderson stock photo. Because at that time, I was still getting all the Series 1 color schemes for my figures. And because Series 2 of UK exclusive was Arn Anderson with all red trunks, I liked the mixed color scheme. So I would have gotten the white and red trunks from Series 1. And again, his boots would have basically been like this. But instead I went with the stock photo and got the silver and black. Is it a good-looking figure still? Of course, but I mean, I would have preferred the original Galoob-style paint scheme. And I could still go back and rebuy this figure with that scheme, but they got to come down in prices or something. They got to do something different. You know, if I end up with like a check for like $800,000 tomorrow, yeah, that's going to make me be able to go back and buy a lot of figures that I want to get, you know, alternate paint schemes. You know, Sid Vicious and Pink Singlet as an example. You know, get Ric Flair in red trunks. Get him redone. So, get the blue trunk. Who was that? Oh man, brain freeze. Barry Windham. God, that's so bad. Neither one of these, I think. I think you couldn't go wrong with either one. I enjoy Arn Anderson a lot better. Like, I don't think that this is a horrible figure. Whereas this, it's kind of like on my bottom tier of recommendations. So, I'm going to go with Arn Anderson. I think it's just too easy for me to pick Arn. I don't want it, obviously, to be too obvious. You know, you still want the viewers to kind of, you know, grapple with who I may go with. But Arn Anderson's going to win. I'm toppling him over Tully Blanchard. So that is going to complete the first set of 4 matchups. And yeah, that's fun. I mean, that's eight figures knocked out of 22. So I'll have 16 figures after I knock out the next set of 8 in the next video. And then there will be 7 figures remaining. So I'll have 2 matchups, one-on-one for 4 figures. And then I'll choose 2 figures out of the last 3, which will be a one-on-one-on-one, essentially. So there'll still be 3 videos for round 2. So I've only been filming these for 3 days now. Today is what? Saturday, December 2nd. So, I mean, obviously I'm trying to post these videos every single day. But I think as of right now, I'm still way ahead. Got plenty of videos in queue, so this is going by really smoothly, and I'm really enjoying this tournament. I actually talked a lot more in the first round than I ever thought I would. Yeah, theoretically, these should be like 15 or 20 minute videos, but hover around 30, 40 minutes each video. Yeah, I'm really enjoying what I'm being able to knock out with these figures. So, any updates outside of the tournament? Right now, not really. For the next week or so, week and a half, kind of focus on the tournament if you guys want, and I will let you know if there's any following videos that I'll be coming out with. Alright, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and once again, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.